right. Well, Jeannie, thank you so much for hopping on the podcast today. I'm super pumped up and super excited to have you on. I know that if people have been watching my stories a while back, I posted and shared a little bit about you already. So I'm excited to have you on the podcast and dive into how your colors and your closet and all of that makes such a huge difference in your glow. So I'm excited to have you on.
Thank you so much. I'm so happy to be here, Renee.
Yeah. So before we dive in all about what clothes and colors you should be wearing or what makeup colors and like all of those things so that we accent and make ourselves look the most radiant as we possibly can. Before we dive into that, tell us a little bit about you. Like, how did you become so passionate about this? Like, how did you become the color guru?
Okay, well, I have always been into organization, decluttering, things like that. And what I found was that I had decluttered pretty much my whole house and I could not get a handle on my closet. Like my closet was still packed with stuff. And yet when I opened up the closet doors or opened my drawers, I was like, there are literally clothes spilling out and I don't want to wear any of them.
Yeah.
I don't know how to put them together. I don't like them. I think I liked them when I tried them on in the dressing room, but I don't like them now. Like, what is going on with my closet? And so I was just literally color guru grew out of like a total frustration with knowing that like I didn't want to wear most of my clothes. I'm like, what was that all about? And so basically I kind of dug in and said like, I need to create a boundary around clothes. Like I need to not be decluttering my closet every 6 months. I need to start bringing in the right things to begin with. So I'm not just like, it's not a cycle of like in and out, which is what I was running into. So I kind of thought about it. And like, I tend to like become a little obsessive with stuff like this when I want to like solve a problem. And I became obsessive about it. And I thought like, what would be the most efficient way to like create a boundary for clothes? And the idea of color came to mind. Like I had heard of this idea that we have like certain colors that are particularly good on us. I hadn't at that point dived into it, but I was like, oh, if I could find my best colors and only wear those, not only would I look better, but I would know what to buy when I was shopping, and I would be getting rid of less stuff. Like would be making smarter choices while shopping and wasting less money, wasting less time. So I started playing around with it and then became completely 100% obsessed. That's how it all sort of started though.
So before we go even further, because I know like inherently I am not a big shopper. Like I rarely shop my clothes. Like most of my clothes in my closet are hand-me-down from my younger sister who loves to shop. So would you have described yourself as being one of those people that like avidly liked to shop and that you just were shopping all the time and had stuff that didn't work? Like you said, that you just didn't love? Or was it something that you felt like you were always trying to find that thing that you really loved? And so buying new stuff and then like that cycle. Does that make sense? Did I differentiate
Yes,
differently? Okay.
it totally makes sense. And I will say, pre having kids, I liked to shop. After I had kids, I was like, oh my God, I don't have time to like go like mosey around the mall and see what catches my eye. Like my life completely shifted. And
Yeah.
now I have two little ones now who are 5 and 7, but that was like the big turning point for me. I suddenly hated shopping after I had kids because I was like, oh God, I'm like going to Target to get like essentials and like grabbing a dress and not even trying it on because I have my kids with me and it's like a whole thing to go into a dressing room with kids.
Yes.
So I used to like to shop when I was in like college and stuff. But then once I had kids, I was like, I do not like to shop. I need a structure to my shopping where I can buy things, that make sense and like them, but not spend a lot of time on it. So
Yeah.
that was my goal.
And not a lot of money, right? Because then you're not
Yeah.
buying things that you bring home and you're like, gosh, I don't like this. And then, but not taking it back and keeping it in our closet, which I think is what a lot of times people do too. Cause it's just, especially with kids, even I used to buy stuff and bring it home, try it on. And then it's like, now I have to take it back. And so sometimes I would just never take it back. So
Right.
Okay, so now we know a little bit about how you got so passionate about this. So tell us a little bit about what does it look like? Like I know like you said, I'd always heard that certain colors look better on certain people and you know that like when you try on a lipstick and one person it like brings out so much in their face and their eyes and whatever, and then for another person it's just not the same. So what is it about color that is so unique for each person that can really just highlight those features that are wonderful on each person that look different on each person?
Yeah, that's such a great question. And there's multiple pieces that are the answer. And it's not just like warm and cool, although that's often what you see as the first thing, right? Like probably some of you have taken a quiz like, are you warm or cool? Undertoned basically.
Hmm.
And so those quizzes kind of work for the people who are on the far ends of the warm cool spectrum. So warm and cool is a spectrum, and there are some people that are like extremely warm, everything about their coloring is warm, and it's kind of easy for them to identify. And then there's people on the other side that are like extremely cool, everything about their undertones is cool, and they're easy to identify too. But then I think about 70% of us fall in the middle, where we have like some warm aspects and some cool aspects. Like me, for example, I have warm hair, I have cool eyes and cool skin, so it's like, what am I? you know and so warm cool is one piece of it. The other two pieces are, do you look better in light colors versus deep colors? And then the other question is, do you look better in muted colors or clear colors? And when you put those three answers together, you can really get a picture of what your ideal color palette should look like. And so when
Okay.
we do the color tests, that's what we're looking for, those three elements.
Yeah, well, and then even like you said, like the test, like even for somebody, I know you and I did this with you, right? Like I sent you my pictures and you sent me the thing back. Even looking through it, I'm like, I don't necessarily, if I were to just compare myself, like you said, like those online quizzes that you could go through and maybe kind of panel out yourself. I feel like you have to have an eye and know what you're
Yeah.
looking for, correct? Like you're talking
Yeah.
about like cool undertones and warm undertones. I'm like, I wouldn't even know what to look for in
Yeah.
somebody's face. So I think it is something like you have such a skill and a technique in helping people kind of identify what that looks like. And so I know you and I did that together. But for those that are kind of wondering, like, what does it actually look like with a consultation?
Mhm.
How does that actually work?
So this is how it works. We need some things, obviously, from each person because our consultations are very individual. They're custom color consultations. So, what we need are, first of all, some answers from you. So when somebody purchases a color consultation, then they give us, they fill out a questionnaire and they answer things like, what happens to your skin in the sun? Do you tan? Do you
Mm,
burn? Do you have dark skin that looks the same all year round? You know, and then things like, what was your natural hair color as a child? We need to know if you're coloring your hair currently. There are all sorts of things we kind of need to know about your coloring history. And then we need to see at least 5 photos. And because people, how photos are, right? You
yeah.
you take one photo in like outside and it looks really different than a photo you took inside your house,
Yes.
because
Yes.
lighting makes a big difference. And once in a while we get somebody will send us 7 photos, but like we can't see what we need to clearly enough. We really need good photos that we can really see what's going on. And so we'll email them and be like, send us more photos. But most people send photos that are great and we can see what we need to in 5 photos. So we look for those. Those are like the puzzle pieces. It is like a puzzle that you put together. Um, and and then, based on those answers that we get, okay, we look at, are they warm or cool? Do they look better in lighter, deeper colors? Do they look better in clearer, muted colors? And we put together the color palette based on that. And then we also look at what is their dominant quality. So
Mm,
for you, exactly, for example, you were a summer type, but
hmm.
there are 3 different types of summers in the system that I created. And those 3 different types of summers can look very different from each other. They don't all look the same.
Yeah.
All right. So just because you're a summer doesn't mean you're going to look the same as other summers. And so Then we determine sort of what's your dominant quality. For you, your dominant quality is soft, which makes you a calm summer. So you have a specific palette that sort of highlights
Mm-hmm.
the calm summer type. So that's kind of how it works. And most people think it's a lot of fun.
Yeah. No, it was a lot of fun, and it was actually kind of ironic. And I talked about at the very beginning is that I went through my closet and I'm like, I have not worn this in forever. It's like hot green. Literally, it was like almost neon green, like white plaid, like very bright, very, strong color.
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't wear this, and it didn't show up on my summer colors. So I'm throwing this out. And
Yeah.
so I think for those that are looking at decluttering their closet, having kind of a guide of what looks good on you versus what doesn't can be really helpful for paring down the clothes in your closet. And I know I have read the statistic that, you wear 20% of the clothes in your closet 80% of the time. And I think you had the same number too, right? Like people are wearing 20-ish% of those things that are in their closet. So by having, like we talked about, that system and that guide to determine what stuff you're buying so that you're bringing less stuff in that's just going to sit in the closet and not actually ever get worn, but that you have stuff that actually makes you feel really good. And that's the thing for me is I found going through your colors, I was like, there's a lot of the colors in my closet fall kind of in that range that you told me. And so it was kind of interesting to think like that's probably because I'm naturally inclined to feel like I look better in those colors. I was looking through, I had one single bright red shirt, and the only reason I have it is for the 4th of July and for Valentine's Day and like those few holidays that need a bright red shirt. But otherwise, that's the only bright red shirt that I had in my closet, or like that one green. And I think you also highlight certain clothes that you shouldn't be wearing, right? Like colors that don't accent and well. And I think mine were brown and orange. And I
Correct.
looked through and I was like, gosh, I have very little brown and orange. I have no brown shirts. I have a couple brown jackets, but otherwise I had no brown shirts and like very little orange. And if it was more of a corally orange. So it was just very fascinating to look at how we probably are already sort of inclined to that. But then when we have that definitive, like, hey, this is what works best, it takes the guessing game out of it.
It does. That's exactly what it does. It takes the guessing out of it. And what I find is that most of the women that I work with know some of their best colors, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or at least they have a sense like, oh, every time I wear this, I feel really good and I get compliments and I like the way I look in the mirror more. And so it's like, well, that's probably one of your colors, you
Yeah.
know? But it's what it does, because we give like 35 best shades. And so what for most people it does is they confirm like, oh, there are those couple colors I knew were really good for me. And here's like a bunch more to try that I, for some reason, never consider.
Mm-hmm.
It's like going to the store is sort of like going to a grocery store. Like going to a clothing store is kind of like going to a grocery store, and trying to buy something new is actually really hard.
Yeah.
Like we tend to buy the same stuff over and over again.
Yes.
And it's just like you put that, that same cereal in your cart that you always buy, and you put that same kind of, whatever, butter or whatever. And it's the same thing. We go clothes shopping, we don't really realize it, but we're just kind of buying a lot of the same things over and over.
Yep.
And for most people, this really frees them up and gives them a reason to try some new colors that also will look just as good on them as those sort of old favorites.
Uh-huh.
Mm.
That makes total sense, because I was like looking through my closet the other day. I was like, probably 60% of my closet is blue.
Yeah.
And like you said, that having that range of colors gives me some other things. Like I may have already figured out I like blue and I like the way blue looks, but this gives me some other elements, like some other colors that I could pull in and also try out too, that would be helpful.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. So I know I'm not a huge fan of organizing. I don't love organizing. I really love simplifying and decluttering, and then pulling in organization when it's minimized, so that like organization definitely has a time and a place. But I feel like so many times we try to over organize instead of try to really truly get rid of stuff. But with that, do you have a favorite way that you organize, or a recommendation for organizing the closet?
Yeah, I do. What I have a trick that I have been using now for years, which is when I pared down my closet through color, um, I basically, first of all, arranged my clothes by color, like my hanging
Mhm.
clothes. And I love that. For me, it's very visually beautiful to
Yeah.
see everything kind of like in like a range of colors. But the other thing that I do, which is a little more like away from the color, but like pure, like simplifying, is I had like a mishmash of like hangers, and I decided I was going to buy like 50 of the same hangers, and I was never going to add hangers.
Mm.
So basically, I kind of keep my hanging stuff. Now I have some drawers too where I keep like pants, and I have some shelves where I keep sweaters. But as far as my hanging stuff, I am limited to 50. That's it. And for me, it's a really easy way to like keep my closet sort of curated naturally, because if I have all 50 hangers filled and I buy something new, something has to go
Yep.
because I'm not adding hangers. So like that's my favorite trick. And it's so simple, but it really works to like keep your closet, pared down and simplified so you're not
Yeah.
overwhelmed. And for some people that may be like 100 hangers. Like you might be
Yeah.
coming from 200 hangers to 100, and that's a huge shift for you. But for me, like 50 hangers is just like right. It's the right amount for me.
Yeah. Well, it's funny you mentioned the hangers because we do have a mishmash of some of the hangers. But at one point I was like, I just want only the plastic ones because I don't like the way the wood ones like bow out a little bit or all these different things in my closet. And so I was like, I want them to be all uniform and make it easier just to put the clothes in there and that they're not weird in that way. And so I started doing that. And then my husband started taking his work clothes to dry cleaning. And so you come back with those little wire hangers all the time.
Yes.
And so as funny as when I do the laundry, I only put the plastic ones in my side and he can have all of the brown and or like the wood and the wire ones and all that. I'm like, if you're the one bringing those in, you get to keep those in your side of the closet. But it does make such a huge difference. Like when I look in my closet and they're all lined up versus having like a random couple wire ones and a random couple wood ones. Like it seems like such a simple and not like it's going to make that much of a difference, but it goes back to that visual clutter and how like it
Absolutely.
makes such a huge difference in just the way we perceive it. And I just recently took all the kids hangers and the same thing. Like we had ones that had, like the 3T hangers that you get from the store or whatever. And we had so many hangers. The kids had so many hangers on the floor. They were everywhere. And we're in that transition from like little kid hangers to my kids now being wearing big adult sized hangers, like their clothes were falling off, the little ones. And so I was like, I don't need to keep all these little ones. So same thing. I just boxed up this last week and boxed up a ton of hangers. I'm like, they're going, they're not getting them out because it makes such a huge difference, that visual clutter in your closet for
Yeah,
sure.
it really does.
Yeah. So, okay. So I would love to just know beyond just the clothes, because that's one thing. There's other colors and things like that that you highlighted that I was not anticipating inside the color console in terms of what makeup we should be wearing and jewelry and all these other pieces. So tell us a little bit more about how that all incorporates too into the console.
Yeah, so basically, the makeup cards came about because we were doing a bunch of color consultations, and people kept saying, I love this color card for my clothes. Can I use this color card for my clothes to choose my makeup? And I kept
Mm.
saying, I'm not a makeup artist. I don't know. Like, I don't think so. I don't think it like totally carries over. So I met with a professional makeup artist and was talking with her about this idea of creating a makeup card, and she loved the idea. And so I collaborated with her, and the idea was to give people a couple of go-to colors that they could match the color in any
Mhm.
brand that they like, um, to just simplify makeup buying, like to
Mhm.
be able to like go into a store and, just pick something out and know that it's the right thing for you. And so we have gotten an amazing response from the makeup cards, because in one shot with the consultation, you can literally kind of simplify your clothing, simplify your makeup, know what to buy.
Mhm.
So we give like 6 lip colors, some natural lip colors, some sort of subtle lip colors, and then 2 dramatic lip colors. We give 3 options for like shadows, to like a natural shadow pair,
Yeah.
that and that kind of thing. And Yeah, people just we're basically just, our goal is to like highlight your beauty and help you simplify at the same time. Like
Yeah.
that's what Color Guru is kind of all about. Um, and then, as far as the jewelry colors, we do tend to put people in either silvers and cooler jewelry, or golds, rose golds, that kind of thing, the warmer jewelry. And that's based on the warm cool assessment that we do. So we also give kind of an answer about jewelry, which people I think generally find pretty helpful.
Well, and it's funny is like, even I think recently I was talking to my clients about just makeup and clearing out the makeup. And I have not bought most of my makeup is from like high school and college when like go crazy. And I know that a lot of times most makeup expires, but I feel like not mascara, eyeshadow is one of those things that I'm like, I have so much, I'm not throwing it all away.
Yeah.
Anyway, but when I went through my makeup a few years ago and I paired out some of the stuff, I had a lot of really strong, bright colors. I used to work at a restaurant. And so at night, when it was like dark and you're sweaty and you've been working all night, those like really bright colors were really helpful to make me look like I wasn't a Walking Dead person at the end of the night. And so I had a whole bunch of strong, really bright colors that I wasn't wearing, like you said, as we transition into motherhood and adult life and all of these types of things. But yeah, I felt like there's such a strong like pull, like I can't get rid of them. What if I want to wear them? What if I need them? What if, right? And at some point you kind of cross that transition of letting go of them. But I think having this color chart and the color wheel is really helpful because you realize, okay, these colors that I'm holding on to and maybe I've been holding on to for a while, I haven't worn in forever. They really are not highlighting and accentuating anything for me. So why am I holding on to them anymore? So I think that color wheel, especially with the makeup, can be really helpful, not just with choosing what comes in, but making it so much easier to let go of the stuff that we already have. And I think that that's the huge thing, especially for a lot of people in my audience, is maybe not necessarily even looking at like, what do I need to buy right now, but just having a simple, easy, guided way to go through your closet or to go through your jewelry or to go through your makeup and determine, what do I actually get rid of? Because that's can be one of the hardest questions for so many people, is like, how do I get rid of this? What do I do?
Yeah, it's a great time, like right after the color consultation. A lot of people are like, I'm going to go through my closet. And like, it's a great time to get rid of the stuff that you never liked that much anyway. And
Mhm.
now you're like, oh, and this isn't one of my best colors. So like
Yeah.
now you feel like, it's much easier to let it go. Once you know definitively, this doesn't flatter me anyway. Like,
Yes.
you know, so
Yep.
yeah.
Yep. Well, and it's funny is I actually put this little throw on this morning and I was like, I haven't worn this in a while. I don't know if I want to keep it. And then I was like, eh. And then it's a very dark dominant color. And I was like, it might go today. Like, we'll see. But I put it on this morning and it did have those questions of like, oh, this isn't something I've worn in forever. It's not super comfortable. And this morning when I did this, I felt like it cracked and snapped in my back a little bit. I'm like, I think this might be the last day that I wear this. But I think having that color consultation really did help kind of give that clear boundary, like you talked about. And having those boundaries is so incredibly helpful.
Good. I'm so glad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if somebody wants to follow up with you and do a color consult with you, how can they do that? What can they expect? I know we talked a little bit about it earlier, all of those kinds of details.
Yeah. So our website is yourcolorguru.com. And that's where you can see, what we offer in terms of color consultations. We're also on Instagram a lot. And every week we actually name one of the colors in our color palette. So that's been fun. You can like submit a color name. So if you've ever been jealous of those people who get to name paint swatches, which I always was, every week we do a color naming contest, which is really fun.
That's fun.
And we also have on our website like a quick color tips guide that you can download. And we also have a special offer for your listeners, which is
Mhm.
10% off of any consultation with the coupon code Rising Mom, all one word, Rising Mom.
Yep. Yep. Yeah, I hands down recommend it. I think it's super valuable and super helpful and it's just fun, right? Like it's something that I don't know, it's fun to just splurge and do and figure out like what's best for me and simplify your closet and give you a guideline and boundaries and like all of those types of things all rolled into one. And I mean, I'm all about living in rhythm and like knowing what type of time of the month you look the most glowing. And I feel like this just helps you, it make you feel like you're glowing all the time. And I feel like it's super powerful and super important for people to feel confident in their skin and confident in what they're wearing and feel really highlighted and feel really beautiful and all of those types of things. So this is just one added layer to that to make you feel that way.
Yeah.
Yes. So thank you so much for hopping on the podcast. We'll make sure that everything is linked up in the show notes for everybody so that you can easily go over and find her. Your color guru is super easy to find on Instagram, like she said. And yeah, thanks so much for sharing with us.
Awesome. Thank you for having me, Renee.
Yeah.